It looks rather gorgeous, doesn't it? So, can any of these keyboards look better than this? No, they can't. Nothing beats building a custom keyboard to exactly your needs, the way you want it to feel, perform, and look. And it just depends on the kind of components you put together, particularly the switches, the stabilizers, and the actual case itself. With a bit of modding, you get to a keyboard that sounds and feels so good that any of these off-shelf keyboards just can't beat that feel. And going through that journey of knowing that you have built that keyboard that looks and sounds so good, the experience of using it after that is so profound. Nothing beats it. Sure, the off-the-shelf big boys like Logitech and Razer, they have some good keyboards out there, but the build quality and sound and feel is never going to match something that you have put your sweat and blood into building. Wireless technology is probably the only thing that we're lagging in the custom mechanical keyboard scene. Particularly Razer and Logitech's light speed wireless technologies are sort of unbeaten. We haven't got that sort of latency in these keyboards just yet. But then you get all these beautiful coiled wires that you can attach and again add to the custom look and feel that you're going for. So the best gaming keyboard, or any keyboard for that matter, isn't any of these off-the-shelf keyboards. It's the keyboard that you build for your needs to match exactly how you want it to look, feel, perform. So the question might be, well, buying, building, and modding a mechanical keyboard, it's quite a skill to have. It requires some experience. Can anybody go and do it? Well, that's what we're going to find out. In this video, I'm going to review the Drop Alt, which is the case that I chose for my first custom keyboard, and just go through in terms of my thoughts on the modifications and whether they were difficult to do or easy to do. I'm going to summarize how I went from making my keyboard sound like this to this. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you do like and find something useful out of this video, please do give us a like and a sub, and have a nice day. Let's head down to the unboxing. Okay, so the boxes that you get from the Drop website are fairly basic, but they do the job. I opted for the Holy Pandas. These are the original ones from Drop themselves. Got a nice tactile feel, a bit of a clicky sound, not too bad. I did go for an extra set of keycaps in white and blue. There was a good deal on them at that time. They're not anything special, these keys, but they are colorful and gives me some chance to mix and match up my keyboard. Now onto the keyboard itself. I'm really excited about this. The keyboard I ordered itself is the Drop Alt low profile version in matte black. It looks so compact and clean. There's no extra bits about it. There is a bit of extra RGB. I do like the nice Drop Alt logo at the back. The black finish is what made me like it so much. For sure, the spacebar on this keyboard is going to need some work. The standard stabilizers that come with it are so bad. So for the rest of the box, we've got a USB-C cable. This is not a good cable at all. So we have a keycap puller in the box. It comes with a screw at the back, nice and handy. We've got these magnetic feet. These are very nice. They clip on very satisfactorily at the back of the keyboard. And then we've got the switch puller. Not a good quality switch puller at all. Scratches your keyboard. Don't recommend using it. With the unboxing now over, the most important thing to do is to take your old keyboard and chuck it in the bin. Now with our keyboard ready to go, we're going to move on to the modding. First and most important thing for modding is the workspace. This is very important. You're going to spend a lot of time here. You want to make sure the place you're going to work in has the right tools, has enough space for you to do your work, it's clean, it's organized. So make sure you spend some time setting up your workspace once you've got all your components, once you've got all your tools. You know, spend some time on that just to sit down and make sure it looks good, it's organized, it's clean. So it's a couple of things you really need. So you do need to go and buy yourself some Cherry stabilizers. The originals are not good. You can get switches with keyboards like I had in this drop hold, some Speed Silvers, but I got myself some extra drop Holy Pandas because I really like the sound of these. Next thing is I've got some switch films and stab pads, and then a switch puller. This is very important. It's very difficult to open switches without the switch opener, sorry. It's very easy to use, open them with this. Now some tools. So we've got a switch puller, not a very good one, but I had to make do with this one. It does hurt your fingers after a while. I went for a Krytox 205G to try and get a bassy, thocky sound. I've got a pair of tweezers. This is very important. It's needed for all the small components as you go through. We do need a small brush to apply the lube, and we went through the keycap puller itself. And finally, this is one of the most important things. This is I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a grabber. It allows you to hold the switches in place while you lube them. So it's very, very useful. Final bit is a lube station. It's a nice to have, not important, good to organize your work, but please do not get the one from Drop Alt. This is absolutely horrible. It took me ages to unbox it, and then there was swarf inside each of its components, so it was a nightmare to try and use. Next up is the disassembly. So this is a fairly simple process. Just take your keycap puller and start taking off all the keycaps from your keyboard. It looks easy when you fast forward it like this, but it does take some time. So get your music on and enjoy this process. The same thing for the switches themselves. You've got to remove all of them so that you can get into disassembling the keyboard. You can't actually take apart the keyboard without taking off all these switches. Now, next thing is removing the screws on your keyboard. Now on the Drop Alt, there are 6 very easily accessible screws at the back. It's not a difficult process at all. Then there's 3 parts to the keyboard itself. It'll be the top case, there'll be the PCB, and the bottom bit itself. Just take them apart nice and gently. Make sure you don't damage the PCB, of course. And that's it. Your keyboard is ready for mods. Next step, Stabiliser Mods. Now, before you start this, you want to head over to switchandclick.com. This is a brilliant website. They've got all the information you need for every single keyboard mod out there, plus a lot of other information in terms of guides to switches, to stabilizers themselves. It's brilliant. I've used this website extensively for all these mods. Followed it almost to the book. I made some changes here and there just to make it easier for myself. For example, I've used stabilizer pads that came with my Deskeys switch films rather than band-aid. It's just easier. I didn't have to faff about with cutting band-aids. But other than that, I followed it. So go ahead and check this website out and use all their mods going forward. Once you've done all your stabilizer mods, make sure you just experiment with them a little bit to make sure they sound the way you want them to sound. You don't want to finish off all your lubing and then find you've made a fatal mistake somewhere. So just pause, check, and then redo. Keep going like that until you get the right sound. Once you get there, wow. You can tell from my reaction, it's a beautiful experience. Okay, next up, foam mods. Yeah, there's a lot of cutting and shaping involved here, so you better be good with your skills. I'm going to be honest, I miserably failed at this. I could not get the Drop Alt's hollowness to go away even after trying all sorts of different variations. So instead, I've ordered a pre-cut foam from a company called stupidfish.com. I highly recommend just doing that. I haven't actually tested this just yet, but it's on its way and I will be doing a review for that. But this website's got everything you need in terms of foam, pre-cut, and it's not so expensive. So yeah, give us a subscribe and tune in for the foam mod when I get this foam. Next up, we've got the switch mods. Now this is going to take the bulk of your time. I recommend experimenting with a couple of switches just to understand how much lube to use, and then establish that process consistently going forward. You don't want to change it, otherwise you will hear different sounds from each keys. For example, after experimenting, I found that using switch films wasn't actually giving me anything on the Holy Pandas, so I didn't go ahead with these because it would be a waste of time. In terms of lubing, I followed switchandclick.com to the book. The only thing I did differently here was because these are tactile switches, I didn't lube the legs because I wanted to preserve the tactility of the switch. But yeah, again, switchandclick.com has a brilliant guide. You can watch YouTube videos as well on this, but I find this sort of guidebook format from them so useful. It does the job. So I highly recommend just following this and try to do this consistently going forward. Once you've understood how you're going to do the lubing, I recommend opening up all your switches and laying them out in a organized manner. This will aid doing the job faster because you're doing only one process at a time rather than doing different processes on each switch until it's complete. For the springs themselves, I opted with the lazy method, which is to just put them all in a bag, put some lube in there, and then give it a right old shake. The keyboard modding professionals out there like to lube their springs individually. I found I couldn't really see a difference, so I just went ahead with this. Once that's done, sit back and start to lube each one of your switches and watch the rows progressively decrease. This is going to take at least 3 hours, so you want to be prepared for this. And remember, the main motivation is the next step, putting it all back together. This is the fun bit. This is where you finally get to start seeing your blood and sweat come together. So go ahead and put all the switches back, apply all your keycaps back, and we're ready to start testing the keyboard.